Now let's talk about the play of the week. The pressure to follow up Hypnotic and Cognac weighing heavy on the team. Hypnotic was in the cup, blue and ready for the play, and boom! Añejo Tequila came in with a smooth assist to Hypnotic's tropical fruit finish. Shaken, strained, poured, it was green and good! The playmaking splash shifted the tempo. Another great cocktail from the Hypnotic team. Every season is Hypnotic and tequila season. Hypnotic Liqueur, Bardstown, Kentucky. 17% alcohol by volume. Hypnotic reminds you to think wisely, drink wisely.
Optimizing network operations at hundreds of sites, streamlining digital communications, ensuring seamless performance across applications and devices. No matter what your technology goals are, Spectrum Enterprise delivers the solutions, services, and support like no other provider, so you can stay ahead of the evolving demands of your customers and employees. Because enabling exceptional experiences is part of what we do best. Learn more at enterprise.spectrum.com/iHeart.
Welcome to this week's Harness Racing Alumni Show. I'm Freddie Hudson, and I'm here today with Trade Martin, Bob Marks, and Andy Cohen. This week's show is brought to you by Capital South, LLC, a Washington, D.C. lobby and public relations firm headed by Washington, D.C. top lobbyist Marty Irby. For more information, call or text 202-821-5686.
Once again, that number is
202-821-5686.
Capital South, LLC, Marty Irby.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show is the #1 harness racing podcast in North America. We have sponsorships and advertising spots available. For more information, email rrtrotten@outlook.com or visit ustrots.com. The statements and opinions of our guests are their personal opinions and beliefs, and it does not necessarily represent the opinions of the Harness Racing Alumni Show or of its host.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show with your hosts, Freddie Hudson and Trade Martin.
Joining us this week is Standardbred owner and promoter Scott Alberg. Before I introduce Scott, I have an announcement. The Southern District of New York's Justice Department has been collecting money in fines and forfeitures from the doping trials convicted trainers and vets, and there is a victims fund. The victims applying at this point seem to be racing commissions and racetracks. If horsemen who were beat in races by Surrick, Allard, Oaks, Banca, and other convicted trainers, you can find out how to apply for compensation by contacting Dave Felton at 212-637-2299, case number 20-CR-00160 MKU. Again, Dave Felton at 212-637-2299, case number 20-CR-00160 MKU. Scott, now welcome to the Harness Racing Alumni Show.
Hey, good morning. Nice to hear from you. Trey, Bob, Freddie, good to hear from all three of you.
Okay. Hey, Scott, before we start, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in harness racing.
Oh, geez. I think it was 1996, and a friend of mine introduced me to Tom Fanning, who was a trainer then and is a trainer now, and we became good friends. I purchased a few horses, and that was the start of it, late 90s.
Okay. And you also have the free Facebook contest that you do occasionally?
Yeah, in 96, I won one of the national handicapping contests, and I just thought I would give back a little. So I have these free contests where we give away mostly candy, but sometimes some cash. And sometimes Mouchois joins us, and they give out some prizes. And it's a lot of fun. And I've been doing it, for at least a decade now, and I enjoy it.
Okay. When's the next contest, do you know?
I usually have a monthly, but I haven't had one recently. I think a couple months back was my last one. But everyone who has a Facebook account can participate, and it's free. And so basically we're picking a race. You bet the exacta, and if you hit it, then you win a prize generally. If many people hit the exacta, then we do a random draw. And like I said, it's a lot of fun. A lot of people really thank me for the contest because it keeps it interesting. Okay.
Now, let's talk about your horse, Doug's Platter. You own You own 50% of him with Gordon Banks and Mark Hanover. Tell us about him.
Yeah, I'm a 50% owner. A really nice horse. We got him. We put him in a series recently back in July, and was it July or is it June? I think it was in. I have it right here. Oh no, back in March. I'm sorry. Put him in a series, and he swept the entire series and won the final. Raced in a 50-4, won in a 50-5. So we knew we had a really good horse in Doug's Platter, and then we gave him a couple months off, and then we qualified him back in June 12th, and he won that race, so that was good. But then he got a little sick and came down with a virus, so we had to give him some time off. He came back, won a qualifier, and then won his first race, which was a 1.5-mile race. And just last Sunday, he finished second in 150-3. So he's a really good horse. But I'm wondering, because I never knew of this until I started racing down under. Do you gentlemen know about the Eureka at all?
I've heard of it. Bob, yourself?
I've heard of it, but I'm not that familiar with it. No.
Okay.
A vacuum cleaner. There's a vacuum cleaner.
I knew. No, it's not a vacuum.
Yeah, true, it is a vacuum cleaner. Okay.
But
boy, when you bring in the vacuum cleaner, you could say it sucks.
I like that. But the reason I brought it up is the Eureka is a race. It's the richest race in harness racing. It's once a year. It's going to be held this year, September 7th, at Club Menangle Racetrack, and that's in Australia. And it's for Australian-bred 3- and 4-year-olds. Now, our horse, Doug's Platter, is a 4-year-old. So, and it's very interesting how you become eligible for this race. I don't know if this is exactly right, but let me just tell you about it briefly, and maybe you guys can chime in. They only accept 10 horses. You race for $2.1 million, and it's by invitation. So if you're doing well, you're invited, you're in. You race for that kind of money. But here's the weird thing. You can also buy into it. Now, if you have a horse that's really good, or you feel he's going to be good for the Eureka, you can buy in for $100,000. Now, that's a lot of money to buy into, and because there's a chance your horse may not be ready, because you have to buy in early, and may not be eligible at the time. So what you can do, and this is from what I understand, and I could be wrong, but what you do is if you buy in for $100,000 and your horse is no good, or lame, or just won't be able to make it on September 7th, you can nominate another horse. And what happens is, if that horse, hadn't been invited and you nominate that horse, you split the purse with that horse's owner. So 9 horses have already been accepted or bought into the Eureka, and so there's only 1 slot left, and we're hoping our horse, Doug's Platter, still has a shot. And from what I understand, and I could be wrong, but I think they're going to have a race-off where they're going to take about 10 horses that would be eligible for it, and the winner will be in that final 10th slot. So that's what we're hoping for, and I'm very excited because I think our horse is good enough to race in there.
Scott, what is the distance of that race?
Gee, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I think it might be 1.5 miles, but I could be mistaken. Not sure.
Now, who trains your horse over there, and who's your driver?
Yeah, we have Kevin Pizzuto is our trainer, very good trainer. They interviewed him for the Eureka, and he felt that he said during the interview that Doug's Platter can go with any horse there, and he really was excited to get him in. But again, we had that little bit of a setback with the horse being sick and having a virus, and now he's just coming back, and he's looking better than ever. So we really want to race for that last spot. If it's still available, I really don't know. Josh Gallagher is our driver now. He's the equivalent in the United States to a provisional driver. but a P driver, I'm sorry. But he's been doing very well, and he's been winning with our horse. So we're very happy and very lucky to have him aboard.
Okay. Are you, Mark and Gordon, going to go over there and watch it in person, or are you guys just going to watch it from the States?
I don't fly, so it would have to be up to Mark and Gordon if they want to go. But again, we have to get in. That's the first thing, and it's very slim odds that we'll get in. I don't know if they're going to have that race off, or if someone even took the 10th spot. But if somehow we're in it, I'm not used to this. The biggest race I've ever been in, I've been in a few $100,000 races. The best I finished was 5th. So this would be huge if the opportunity presents itself.
Hey, Trey, did you have any questions?
Yeah, Scott, did you guys put up $100,000 for this the entry?
No, we did not, and we were hoping that we would get invited by someone who had, because there were a few people whose horses just weren't ready for it, but they didn't go with us, and that was disappointing. But, of course, it's their choice. So I don't think there's any more buy-ins left. You can't buy in now, but I don't think those that bought in have the opportunity. I mean, there's no more to owners to choose from. So basically we just have to hope they have a race off and invite us for that race. And then I'm certain we'll do well. I just don't know if we'll do well enough to win.
When are you going to find out about this?
I'm hoping later this week. I have to speak with Gordon and Mark. These guys, really know everything about Down Under. I'm just a novice. And again, I may have the 100,000 buy-in wrong, but that's how I understand it.
I see. Now listen, let me ask you something, because I'm a non-flyer too. I don't know about Bob and Freddie, but I had a couple of incidents where I almost got into a crash years ago, so that's why I don't fly. But why don't you fly?
I'm too cheap to purchase the tickets. I have. I'm kidding. I have. I get vertigo when I fly, and I get very dizzy and nauseous, and it just takes me like a week to recover from that. So I stay away from flying.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But
I'll jump in here too. I don't fly myself, and I just had some bad experiences like you did, Trey.
How about you, Bob?
Oh, I fly, but I don't like to fly. But then again, I can't go anywhere, so I'm 82 years old, so I'm not traveling much anymore. But I fly. Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you guys a funny story. We were flying out of LaGuardia after a snowstorm. We were stuck in the LaGuardia airport for 3 days. And this when I was really young. And we were flying down to Florida. We were on one of these Northeast Yellowbirds that they had at the time. And as during takeoff, we're in the air, and I'm looking out the window, and I see this boat in the water, and we just got looking, and I'm looking, and I now notice that instead of us passing the boat is now passing us. And now the stewardess is running around. We're going to ditch. We have to ditch in the ocean. We have to ditch in the ocean. And like everyone is just silent. And so finally the pilot comes on, and he basically tells us that our engines had conked out during takeoff. And that and we're into the crash positions and everything. You got to take your shoes off. You put your heads up there, and pillows on your head and all this other stuff. But then he came on and said, we got one of our engines back on, and we're making an emergency landing at Newark Airport. And we made an emergency landing at Newark Airport, and I was looking out the window. I saw all the ambulances, the fire trucks, and then we had to leave the plane going down one of those slides. It was really an interesting experience, and I never want to repeat it again. So,
yeah, sounds really good.
That's scary.
Anything else, Trey?
No, not offhand, but that sounds interesting. I like this horse. I saw him race on the video you had, Scott. He looks good. Listen, every horse looks good when they win the race, when they stay in front that long. Did he come from behind? What did he do? Did he come on the outside?
He races best coming from off the pace, but he can race up front. He's just a lazy horse, so you have to get into him. But we don't feel he's reached his full potential. We feel that he's got more in the engine than he's shown so far. So, like I said, our hearts are really in this huge race coming up, and we hope somehow we can get in. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. People have said to me, Scott, why don't you bring him to the United States and race him here? But there's so many big races in Australia and New Zealand where he can race that doesn't make sense. Also, it costs about $25,000 to bring a horse from Australia to the United States. So it is a costly investment, and it's something you have to consider as well.
Absolutely, sure, yeah. It's not like shipping up to Monticello, for $400 or $500. Absolutely.
For $400 or $500 purse, you mean?
Well, no, and shipping up there costs a lot of money now with the gas prices and stuff like that.
Oh.
It costs a lot of money to ship.
It's not like it was years ago.
Yeah.
The tolls have gone up. Everything has gone up. It's really, you really have to have a good horse to make some money in this business. Otherwise, it's such a tough business, as all three of you know.
Yeah, well, that's another good question. What does it cost to maintain a horse, train a horse in New Zealand and Australia?
It's a little less, and it all depends. The top trainers there do get a premium, but it's less than the United States, and but it can be very lucrative because you do have, they have one race that we can enter. It goes from next month through March, and there are 5. It consists of 5 different races, and at all different racetracks and all different distances. I think most of them are half-mile tracks, though. And if you win 3 of the 5, they'll give you a $250,000 bonus. If you win 4 of the 5, they'll give you a $500,000 bonus. And if you win all 5 races, you get a $1 million bonus. So there are a lot of interesting races they have up there for good horses. So that's something we have to consider. But if we go into that, we're giving up a few other good races that are on better tracks. So, we like to stay with the better tracks just so the horse doesn't get hurt. But I leave that up to Gordon and Mark. They're the experts in this, and I just hold on for the ride. That's all.
What's the money exchange, Scott, for as compared to the U.S. dollar to the Australian dollar? Is there a big difference or what?
There is a difference. Yeah, I don't either. I get my bills and I just hope they're right. Because I let Mark and Gordon figure it out. I really don't know. I do know that it's less than the U.S. dollar, but I don't know what the exchange rate is at the time. But it's less. It's definitely less.
Oh, they're not like the bills you got from me, though.
No, when you trained for me, Trade, it was a gift. I think you were doing me the biggest favor in the world, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah, I did that for a couple of my friends. So I did that for a couple of my friends.
And you were a great trainer.
You got that kind of treatment. As good as anybody on the map, I'll tell you that.
Trade, you got me back-to-back wins at Monticello and Yonkers on a horse that couldn't beat a mule. So you had some magic in your blood. I remember
he had an ankle bruise that you could not believe when I got him. It was as big as a $50 piece, like a hole in his ankle.
We weren't going to make it easy on you, Trade. You know that.
No, of course not. No. Why do that? Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and don't forget, that night at Yonkers, we beat Walter Case's horse. He was the favorite. We beat him by a nose.
With that, I'm going to close the show out. Scott, don't go away. But okay. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. This sounds like it's a fun show.
Oh, you guys are a lot of fun. I always enjoy listening to your what do you call them? I'm going blank. Podcast. Thank you. And I enjoy all your guests. You have really good guests. I'm sorry I'm not the caliber of the other guests, but I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Well, especially your partner, Gordon. Gordon is a good guest,
He's brilliant. He's a brilliant man.
He's sharp. Yeah, he's very sharp. Yeah.
And he's a lawyer, too. He knows what he's talking about.
Well, that's the only problem I have with him, that he's a lawyer, but otherwise he's a great guest. He really is.
But he'll never tell you that, so unless you know him, you would never know.
Again, if you are a horseman who has been beat by some of the convicted trainers and wish to apply to the Victims Fund for information on how to do so, contact Dave Felton at 212-637-2299, case number 20-CR-00160 MKU. Now, over to Andy.
Thanks, Fred. I'm going to follow up in next week's Keeping Pace column on the height of budget stuff I've been focusing on. There were a couple of interesting articles that have come out in the past couple of days about uniformity, how some state regulators are pleased with the uniformity that's come from the federal law, and a couple of other things. So hopefully folks will tune in on Monday for the next edition of Pollock Report. Back to you, Fred. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Andy.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show is the #1 harness racing podcast in North America and is listened to worldwide on multiple platforms, including Spreaker, iHeartRadio, USTrots.com, HarnessLink, Google Podcasts, and many others. To our audience, thanks for listening, and please join us again next week.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show